High above the Earth, in a silver research station floating among the stars, a young alien student named Talek moved quickly through the bright halls. His species was called the Velari. They were tall, smooth-skinned, and highly intelligent. Their world was quiet, clean, and full of logic. Every action was planned. Every moment was counted. Talek was known for asking too many questions. His mind worked fast, always searching for answers no one else wanted to find. This time, his question was strange, even by Velari standards. He had been reading Earth biology. Reports in the quiet of the study chamber. One line in a human report had made his long fingers freeze in the air. Human males remain fertile all year round. He blinked twice. That could not be right. On Velari, males were fertile for only one short cycle each year. The timing was perfect with the female cycle. Everything was controlled by the season. That was how all advanced life worked. It was efficient. It was safe. Talek looked again. The report said the same thing. No cycle, no season. Human males could reproduce any time of the year. That was not just unusual. That was impossible. Dangerous. Chaos. He rushed to the central library to check more sources. He pulled records from Earth science teams, human medical centers, and interviews with Earth doctors. Each one gave the same result. Human. Fertility was not linked to a season, not even to a pattern. Talek felt a strange chill run through his body. This was a truth he had never expected. Why would a species live like this? Was it a mistake in evolution? Was it the reason humans were always in conflict? He opened his recording device and began to speak. Subject: human reproduction. Discovery: male fertility is constant. Repeating: constant. This may explain many of their strange behaviors. Further study required. Field visit necessary. Talek requested permission to travel to Earth. The Council of Elders approved it with a warning. They told him not to be influenced by human emotion. They told him to observe only, not to admire. They told him to remember that logic was always above feeling. He agreed, but his thoughts were racing. Days later, Talek stood on Earth soil for the first time. The air smelled different here, alive. The sky was wide. The ground was uneven. Everything felt too loud, too fast, too warm. He was greeted by a human scientist named Ben. Ben was short. With a wide smile and easy laughter, he welcomed Talek and gave him a seat inside a clean glass building with long hallways and open labs. So you want to know about our biology? Ben asked with a grin. Yes, specifically male fertility. Your record suggests no seasonal limit, Talek replied, his voice flat but his eyes curious. Ben laughed. That's right, always on, always ready. A little crazy, I know. Talek blinked. How do you manage such instability? Does it not cause problems? Ben shrugged. Sometimes, sure. But it also means our species grows fast, adapts fast, loves fast. 2. Talek frowned. That was not science. That was emotion. But he said nothing. He would need more data. Over the next week, Talek met with human doctors, scientists, and even parents. He observed tests, asked questions, and watched how humans lived. One evening, he sat beside a young father holding a baby in his arms. The man looked tired, but full of warmth. The baby smiled with bright eyes and reached for Talek's long fingers. Your people are always able to produce life? Talek asked quietly. The man nodded. Yes, it's not always planned, but it's always possible. Talek looked down at the small child. The baby giggled and held his finger. He felt something strange. In his chest, a pull, a warmth, a question with no logic behind it. Why did this feel important? He returned to the station with hundreds of files. He placed them in front of the council. The elders reviewed his report in silence. Then, one of them stood. This is disorder. This is chaos. Nature cannot allow this, the elder said. But it is nature, Talek replied. It is human nature. And they have survived. More than that, they have spread across their world and beyond, with this system. Another elder spoke. Do not confuse survival with success. Talek bowed but did not speak. Inside, his thoughts were wild. Maybe success was not always about control. Maybe it was about movement, change, feeling, possibility. He walked back to his chamber and looked out at Earth from the window. Lights glowed across the surface. Cities full of life, people full of energy. And always the power to create more. A world that never stopped. A species without a season. Talek pressed record again. Final note. Human males do not follow the pattern we know. They do not need one. They are always ready to create. Always ready to grow. Perhaps the question is not why this is possible. Perhaps the question is, what can we learn from it? And with that, the story of Talek's discovery was only beginning. Talek returned to Earth with stronger purpose in his steps. The first visit had opened a strange door inside his mind. Now he wanted to go deeper. The reports were clear. The human system worked in a way no Velari could understand. It had no cycle, no rest, no control. Yet somehow it worked. Ben welcomed him again with a wide smile and waved him into the biology center. The place was full of movement. People walked fast, spoke fast, and reacted with quick hands and eyes. Talek observed all of it like a quiet shadow. This time, Talek said, I must study not just facts. I want to see daily life, real people, real situations. I want to understand how they manage such a system without falling into collapse. Ben agreed without delay. He arranged a visit to a nearby village. Not a place of machines or science, but a place of simple life. There, people grew their own food, cared for families, and lived close to the land. Talek stepped out of the transport vehicle and looked around. Children ran across green fields. Women carried baskets full of fruit. Men worked with tools near wooden houses. The air smelled fresh, mixed with earth and smoke. Everything felt strong and full of movement. A man named Adam welcomed him. He had 3 children and a kind face. His wife, Maria, stood beside him with a baby in her arms. They gave Talek a place to stay and treated him with gentle respect. That night, Talek sat with the family under the open sky. The fire cracked beside them. The baby cried softly, and Maria held her close. Do you plan children, or do they just arrive? Talek asked without fear of offense. Adam laughed and looked at his wife. We plan a little. Life adds the rest. Talek tilted his head. How do you live without control? How do you accept this level of chance? Maria smiled. We do not need to control every part of life. We trust it. Sometimes it brings hard days. Sometimes it brings joy. We grow with it. Talek took notes in his small device, but found his thoughts going beyond logic. These people lived with constant risk. Yet they smiled. They built families. They kept moving forward. Over the next days, Talek followed Adam across the fields. He helped carry tools, watched him fix broken things, and saw how he taught his sons to work with steady hands. The family ate together, worked together, rested together. One morning, Talek watched Maria feed the baby while singing a soft tune. Other children sat nearby, cleaning small vegetables. Talek could not find chaos here. He only found rhythm. Not the rhythm of seasons or rules. A rhythm of life. Later, in a nearby town, Talek met with doctors and midwives. They spoke of surprise births, of early arrivals, of families who had more than they expected. Yet no one called it failure. They called it nature. Talek asked one. Doctor, do you never wish for a cycle like ours? Something simple, something exact? The doctor shook his head. No, if we had only one chance each year, many would miss it. Many would never become parents. This way, we always have hope. Talek felt those words settle inside him like a soft weight. Hope. His own world had no space for such a word. Everything was planned. No one hoped. They waited. They followed rules. They repeated. Back in the village, Talek asked Adam one final question. If you had the power to control this part of your life, to make it perfect, would you take it? Adam thought for a while. Then he shook his head. No, because mistakes taught me more than success. Surprises gave me more than plans. These children were not perfect ideas. They were perfect gifts. Talek returned to the research station once again. He carried not just data, but also experience. He placed both on the table before the council. The council did not speak for a long time. Then the eldest member stood and looked at Talek. You went too far. You allowed emotion to color your study. Talek replied with calm voice. I followed the truth. The truth is not always cold. The truth has warmth. The human system is not broken. It is simply different. It carries risk, but also great strength. Another member asked, and what is that? Strength? Talek answered with one word. Adaptation. The room fell into silence. Back in his chamber, Talek looked out at the stars. He thought of Maria and her song. He thought of Adam and his hands in the soil. He thought of the baby's eyes, wide with wonder. He no longer saw Earth as a wild planet full of unstable life. He saw it as a place of motion, heart, and growth. Without fear, Talek pressed the record button once again. Second field visit complete. Results confirmed. Human males remain fertile without break or season. This system carries danger, but also unmatched power. These people have shaped their world with energy we do not understand. I begin to wonder if our control has cost us something greater. He stopped the recording and stood in silence. Something inside him had changed, and he could feel it. Talek sat alone in his research room. The lights were low. His hands rested on the table, but his mind wandered far. His thoughts were no longer inside the data. They floated through the fields of Earth, across village houses, through the soft laugh of children and the quiet hum of family life. He had returned from Earth with more than results. Something had touched him, not through knowledge, but through feeling. The way humans lived, without patterns, without cycles, yet full of purpose. It stayed with him. The council had given no answer to his last report. They only watched. Talek could feel the weight of their silence. He knew what it meant. Doubt, disapproval, fear. Inside the alien station, many other students moved around him. They whispered. They watched. Some called him reckless. Others said he had fallen under human influence. One student, a senior named Kale, blocked his way in the hall. You are not a scientist anymore, Kale said with cold voice. You are a dreamer chasing chaos. Talek gave no reply. He walked past without meeting Kale's eyes. Words would not help here. Only truth could. That evening, Talek returned to the data center. He opened the records again. He checked the reports, the tests, the interviews. All results stood clear. Human males carried active fertility across all days. No break, no signal, no limit. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he spoke aloud. How do they hold such power and still survive? He remembered a moment from the village. Maria had carried the baby during a storm. Rain had fallen hard. Wind had pushed the trees. Yet she had walked with steady steps, singing softly to calm the child. No panic, no fear. Talek understood now. Their strength came from more than their bodies. It came from their ability to keep going. Even in noise, even in pain, even when life made no sense. He knew he needed more than numbers. The council would never accept emotion alone. He needed proof that the human system was not only real, but also useful. Talek made contact with a human research group. They agreed to meet at a global biology conference held in a mountain city called Ridgefall. Human scientists from across the world gathered there each year to share findings and questions. He prepared his notes. He organized files. He chose images and examples that showed how human fertility helped in survival during cold seasons, war, times, disease waves. While others had stopped, humans had continued. Their growth had never paused. He traveled to Earth once more, this time with a mission not of learning, but of sharing. The Ridgefall Conference Center stood between tall snow-covered peaks. Inside, the place buzzed with voices, screens, lights, ideas. Talek stood on the speaking platform, his face calm, his heart unsure. He looked out at the crowd. Rows of human scientists waited, curious. Some alien researchers also sat in the back, arms crossed, faces tight. Talek took a breath and began. I am Talek of Velari. I have studied your species for many seasons. I bring a report not just of biology, but of something more. He explained the facts. He showed charts. He displayed comparisons between Velari and human systems. He gave examples of times when human fertility allowed fast population recovery after disasters. Then he stopped the screens. He looked around. In our world, we believe control brings safety. But your people have survived without it. Your system allows for life to bloom at any time. That is not weakness, that is power. A kind of power we have forgotten. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then a voice spoke. Are you saying our chaos is better than your order? Talek turned toward the sound. It came from a Velari elder who had entered unseen. I am saying that your order has made you blind to another way, Talek answered. The elder frowned. His voice sharp. You risk your future with such words. Talek stood taller. Then let it be risk. I have seen more truth in one human village than in all our libraries. The crowd began to murmur. Some humans clapped softly. Others leaned forward. The alien guests looked uneasy. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A signal from the Velari station came through. A command to end the presentation. A red warning flashed across the screen. Talek turned to the humans. They do not want this shared. Ben, who had watched from the side, stepped forward. He typed quickly into the control panel. Within seconds, the stream reconnected through a private human network. The signal stayed strong. Talek smiled once, just a small smile. Then he faced the crowd again. You should know, he said, that your way of life, though full of risk, has shaped a species like no other. You have not only survived, you have transformed. You grow not just in number, but in heart. You adapt. Through choice, not just nature. Applause rose, not loud. Not wild. But deep. Honest. Talek stepped down. Many hands reached toward him. Some with questions. Some with thanks. That night he walked outside the center. Snow fell around him. He looked up into the sky. The stars looked back. For the first time, he felt part of something greater than logic. Something living. Inside his recorder, he spoke. One final line for the day. I have seen a kind of truth here, one we lost long ago. Perhaps the question is not what humans can learn from us. Perhaps the question is, what can we learn from them? The snow kept falling as Talek walked away from the Ridgefall Center. His steps were slow, his mind full. He had shared what he knew. He had spoken not only with facts but with truth, the kind that came from the heart. Still, he could feel the weight of what he had done. The message from the Velari station had been clear. His research was now seen as a challenge to the Council's authority. Speaking of human ways, as strength was not accepted. Calling their method powerful was seen as betrayal. Back on the station, the news had spread fast. Some students supported Talek in silence. Others turned away, afraid to be linked with him. Many called him a traitor to science. Talek's name was removed from the Central Research Board. His chamber access was limited. His status as a scholar was frozen. He was told to remain on Earth until the council reached a decision. Ben invited him to stay at his home. Talek agreed, though his heart felt heavy. His world had turned cold toward him. The place he had once called home now saw him as a risk. Ben lived near the edge of a busy city, where tall buildings touched the clouds and cars moved like rivers. Inside Ben's apartment, books lined the walls. Plants stood near windows. A quiet warmth filled the rooms. "You stood for something real," Ben said while handing Talek a warm cup of tea. "That matters more than your titles." Talek nodded. He looked out at the glowing city below. Life moved on. Fast, loud, fearless. Humans had no time for fear. They lived with uncertainty every day, yet kept building, laughing, loving. Later that night, a group of human scientists arrived. They came to meet Talek. Some worked in biology, some in medicine, and others in psychology. All had seen his speech. All wanted to support him. One woman named Mira spoke with strong voice. "You gave us a view from outside. Sometimes we forget what makes us unique. Your words reminded us." Talek listened as they shared stories of places where fertility had helped communities recover after floods, droughts, even war. In those moments, the ability to create life without waiting had saved entire generations. He began to write again. Not for the council, but for the future. He placed stories, examples, thoughts into a new record. A kind of book. A new form of knowledge. A few weeks passed. One day, a message arrived. Not from the council, from a young Velari student named Liren. Liren had watched Talek's speech in secret. He had questions, real questions. He wanted to know more. He asked to meet Talek in person. Talek agreed. They met inside a quiet human library. Liren looked nervous, but his eyes held curiosity. "Is it true that human fertility is constant, and that it helps them survive?" Talek replied, "Yes, I have seen it. I have felt it. It is not only about numbers. It is about spirit." Liren paused. "Could we learn it? Could we change?" Talek thought deeply before answering. "Change is not easy. It begins in the mind before the body. Your question means that change has already started." Liren left with a copy of Talek's notes. He promised to share them with others who were ready to listen. Back at the station, the council finally gave their answer. Talek received the message while sitting near a small lake outside the city. The sky was pink. Water moved with soft ripples. The message came not as words, but as silence. His removal from the scholar program was confirmed. No reasons given. No questions allowed. Talek closed the message and looked up. He did not feel broken. He felt free. He sent a final message to the council. "I remain a seeker of truth. No walls can hold truth forever. It finds its way." Talek returned to the Ridgefall Center once more. This time not as a guest, but as a teacher. The Human Science Council had offered him a place, not for his species, but for his mind, his knowledge, his voice. He stood before a new group of learners, some human, some Velari, some from other allied worlds. He began with a simple line. "Let us begin with what makes us different. Then, let us discover what makes us the same." In the audience, Liren sat in the front row, eyes wide, pen ready. Talek looked at him. A new seed had been planted. The story was no longer only about humans. It was about the truth they carried. And how that truth could guide others. The classroom inside Ridgefall Center was full. New students sat with notebooks open, eyes fixed on Talek. He walked slowly from one side to the other, speaking with calm voice, not as a guest, not as an outsider, but as a guide. Behind him, a large screen showed images from Earth. Villages, cities, families, children, workers, farmers. Life in motion. Human life, always moving, always growing. Talek spoke with steady words. "You asked why humans grow without limits. You asked how they survive without rest, without a break." Today, I give you the answer I found. He turned toward the screen. They survive because they never wait for perfect time. They act. They trust. They carry risk and strength in one hand. They move forward with hope even in darkness. Laren sat near the front, writing every word. His face was full of wonder. Around him, students from other species listened with care. For many of them, this was their first time hearing such a story. A story not of rules, but of freedom. After the class, Talek stepped outside. The air was cool. Leaves moved in the soft wind. From the garden, laughter of students reached his ears. Laren followed him, holding a small device in hand. I shared your report with others, Laren said. Some want to speak with you. Some want to learn more. Talek looked at him with quiet pride. Then the path has begun. Not for me. For all who choose to look beyond fear. Laren asked, do you miss your place in the Valari program? Talek paused. I miss the dream I had there, not the walls, not the silence. I have found something new here, not status, meaning. That evening, Talek joined Ben and Mira for a shared meal. They sat on a rooftop with warm food between them. The city lights shone below like stars on Earth. Ben raised a glass. To questions, the kind that shake old beliefs, Mira smiled. And to answers we never expect, Talek raised his glass with them. To humans, for living without fear of their own nature. Later, Talek received an unexpected message from a council observer. It came without warning, short and quiet. Change does not come easy, but seeds grow in silence. He read it twice, then he deleted it. The meaning was clear. Someone had listened. Weeks passed, then months. Talek wrote a book with help from human scholars. A book that held not only data, but also stories. Real stories from real people. Farmers who raised families during storms. Doctors who worked through nights to protect mothers and children. Teachers who taught not just facts, but courage. Books spread across human networks. It reached colonies on Mars, research outposts on moons, even space stations where humans worked with other species. Many read it, some dismissed it. Others felt something stir inside. On one far world, a group of young Valari built a learning center. They named it Open Sky, a place for free thought. A place where questions were not feared. Talek was invited to speak at the opening. He accepted with calm heart. As he stood before a crowd of young minds, he looked up at the wide sky. I began this journey thinking humans were wild. I feared their lack of control. Now I see. What looked like disorder was actually freedom. What felt like chaos was growth. He spoke of Maria and her baby, of Adam and his field, of Myra and her firm words, of Ben and his warm laugh, all human, all different, yet all strong in ways no report could explain. Talek closed with one thought. You may choose structure. You may choose freedom. But never choose blindness. Look, feel, learn, then walk your own path. The crowd rose in quiet respect. No loud cheer. No loud noise. Only silence with meaning. As Talek left the stage, Laren walked beside him. Your story will last beyond us, Laren said. Talek smiled. Then let it grow, like the humans. With no season, with no end. That night, Talek stood alone under the stars. He closed his eyes. He remembered the voice of a child, the sound of rain on a village roof. The warmth of a fire beside a family. He opened his eyes again and whispered only one word. Life. The end.